Welcome in to episode 9 of Gridiron Minds. I am your host, Jordan Vanek. As always, I'm joined by Jeff DiMatteo. Jeff, we got Senior Bowl next week, dude. We get to see each other in just a few days. I'm freaking excited. It's one of the favorite times of the year. I think the class that we got is more defensive side of the ball, but I still think we're going to have a lot of guys to watch for. And that running back class, man, I cannot wait. But today's show, the way we're going to do things, we're going to talk about 3 guys each that we are excited to see at the Senior Bowl, what we like from them, some things we want to see, maybe some team fits if we can fit it in there, and then we will break down the conference championship games. Obviously, I'm wearing the Josh Allen jersey because I like the Bills. I would like the Bills to win. Do not want the Chiefs in there, but let's start off, Jeff. What is one guy that you are looking forward to see?
You know what? I'm going to go with Ole Miss defensive tackle Walter Nolan. He's big, he's strong, he's fast. Pre-show we were talking, you said some folks on Twitter said he lacks explosiveness. I'm not sure I saw a ton of that on his film necessarily. I saw a guy that was getting pretty regularly doubled up and teams trying to figure out any way they can to stop him. The guy looks like an absolute game wrecker. Can't wait to see him in one-on-ones. The hope here is that, Tuesday, Wednesday, we really see him kind of dominate those one-on-ones, and I want to see him by the time we get to Thursday, we'll get those kind of best-on-best matchups, and that's what I'm really looking forward to. I want to see that he separates himself as an interior defensive lineman, beating up all of the offensive linemen at the Senior Bowl practices.
Yeah, those one-on-one drills for offense line and defense line, you can learn a lot, especially the next rep. Like, it's not about the first time. If you get got like that happens. That's going to happen a lot in these one-on-one reps. There's just that special, like, you lose and then you come out and you dominate again. And for me, that's where my receivers, I'm very excited to watch those one-on-one drills because they favor the receivers and everybody knows that. But it's about how you lose the first rep and what you learn in that second rep. And one player that I'm excited to see, Alec Aomanor. He's coming out of the University of Stanford. Quarterback play throughout his collegiate career wasn't there. It just, they don't have the easiest of offenses to run. It wasn't a lot of productivity from him. However, when he's quarterback, threw the ball competently, he had some high-end games. If you want any film to go watch, it's probably a bad film from Travis Hunter. Last year, Stanford played Colorado. It was a DFS slate that I'll never forget. I was in first place in 5 or 6 contests. I faded a 92% running back that got 1 point. From Memphis, Blake Watson, who's now with the Broncos now. Then Alec Aomanor came and had 300, and I think he had 374 yards and 4 touchdowns in the third and fourth quarter alone. It was remarkable. He was dominating. It didn't matter if Travis Hunter was covering him. It didn't matter who was in front of him. He was winning, bulldozing people down the field. One thing I've seen through the Twitter sphere is he has the ability to block. And that's something that I don't watch a ton of as just watching pure receiver play. But that's something that translates so well to the next level. And a team that I think fits really well is the Rams. The Rams love wide receivers that can block. They use a lot of motion and then coming inside that gap to handle some linebackers, different things. They want physicality at the receiver position. And then he's a player that Stafford needs from a, 50-50 ball down the field that isn't just Puka Nacua. Like, I think Aomanor has more top-end speed than Puka, which will help Stafford a ton. And also, McVay has talked about the offense gets bland. Like, he's felt like we don't have, a change-up as, a different, pitch to throw. And he wants guys that are going to make that explosive change. So Alec Aomanor is a guy that I'm looking forward to this week. I want to see, does his hips, how fluent is he? Yeah, I don't expect the bigger body dude to be, Tyreek Hill out there and just changing direction. But I want to see him progress in that way. I expect him to lose some reps. I expect Twitter clips to come out of, oh my God, he got, jammed or pressed at the line of scrimmage with some of these guys, and he didn't get off. But what does he do that next rep? What does he do to set up and change things out there? And for this wide receiver class, I think he could sneak into that back into the first. It wouldn't surprise me if he had a great Senior Bowl week that he was able to get to those numbers. If he has a good Senior Bowl week, he's more likely to be a day 2 pick. But overall, I really like Minor. So kick it to you, Jeff. Who is your second guy that you are walking for?
You mentioned a lot of blocking there with your receiver. So while you're talking about the no block, no rock rule here and getting that guy on the field, I'm going to go to a guy who it takes 2 or 3 guys to block. I'm actually going to go with Deone Walker here out of Kentucky. This guy is going to be a nose in most systems. I really think a place like Pittsburgh would be ideal for him because he can come in and kind of displace the aging Cam Hayward to a point, whether he's out of that kind of 3 technique or whether he's over the center. Doesn't really matter. The guy's an absolutely massive human being. And I was watching him against Ole Miss, and it was funny because they were triple teaming him at times. And he's still so dang big that he made all 3 of those linemen look pretty small. And, the 0 on his jersey looked really tiny because his shoulder pads were just kind of folded up. And so that's how enormous this guy was. I love the strength, love the speed. I'm not going to watch him sit here and fill up the stat sheet, but I love how much attention he attracts and how many guys it takes to keep him from filling the stat sheet. That's the kind of guy that frees up the world for your edges. I want to see how strong he is compared to the offensive linemen. I want to see how quickly he moves his hands. I like defensive linemen who are very active, not just with their feet and trying to get moving, but active with their hands, trying to maneuver offensive linemen away like they're practicing martial arts, right? I want to see them swatting hands and getting in on a guy's body and throwing him out of the way, bounce these guys out of the club a little bit. I think Deone Walker's the guy that's big enough, strong enough that he can dominate a lot of these offensive linemen, be a mid-late first rounder, and be an impact player from day 1 in the NFL. Maybe not a Hall of Famer. I'm not going to put a gold jacket on the guy yet, but he's the kind of guy that does all those things to make other players in the defense wildly productive.
I'm picturing Kung Fu Panda and him just going through different things. That's what you want to see from him there, being able to block all that type of stuff. As a Carolina Panthers fan, give me either of these guys. My God, we need someone up front that can handle multiple people and free up Derek Brown. That would be tremendous. That would help a lot of things for this upcoming year for the Carolina Panthers because we need defense. That is something that we desperately need. But the next guy I'm going to talk about is someone that I think a divisional rival will be smart to draft, and it's Xavier Restrepo. I posted today on X about, bigger breakdown, but put it frank, he's had 2,500 yards from the slot in his collegiate career. He is a slot receiver at the next level. I would love to see how he works outside, if that part of his game can develop, because if you can win inside, you most likely can win outside. It's just, how do you handle jams? How do you handle bigger corners? Because he is a little bit undersized. I expect him to be one of the guys from a measurement standpoint, make people go, oh, wow, I don't want to draft a 5'8", player. But the reality is you could be very successful if you can get open. That's just part of the NFL. And the player I'm starting to kind of come around as a comp for is like a Josh Downs, a guy that can win in the short areas of the field, whether it's man coverage, whether it's zone coverage. He has an understanding of what the defense is playing and how to find those soft spots. That came up frequently in his film, especially with Cam Ward. Those two were on the same page every single week, it felt like. He had some ridiculous catches from Cam Ward escaping the pocket and making some plays, and he has the clutch gene. Like, whatever you want to, how to identify that is to their own, because you're watching film, you're not necessarily paying attention to down distance and time. This dude on 4th down, 3rd down, the plays that he would make at the University of Miami is just unbelievable. I think the Atlanta Falcons would be the team that should be targeting him, because you can give me offense that runs a lot of 11. They have a Sean McVay disciple over there with Zach Robinson. You go Drake London, Restrepo, and Mooney. All 3 of those complement each other really well. And it allows Drake London to play all 3 levels instead of being forced to be more of the short and intermediate guy that he had been this year. And they want Drake London to play down the field because of what Penix can do down the field. It also gives Michael Penix a guy that can win on 3rd down, that isn't Drake London, that has the knowledge of football that I think you're just looking for. I expect Restrepo to be a day 2 pick, and someone that NFL teams, when they get him on the whiteboard, when they get him talking about what he's seeing in certain things, he's going to impress the hell out of these teams, and he's going to find himself getting picked on the probably, I'd say, late second, early third round. So that is Xavier
Nice.
Restrepo.
Okay.
Jeff, what is your last guy before we get into DFS?
I felt like I could have gone for 3 on D-line, but I better move into the second level here. This is a chance at linebacker for a guy to really separate himself. I'm going to go with Smile Mondon here from Georgia. He's watched his missed tackle rate drop 3 straight years. And anytime you're getting a player that played at UGA, he gets a bit more attention, right? There's a lot of really good players in that defense every single year. They're playing NFL level talent effectively every year. This is one of the best players on that defense, so I love seeing the way he patrols the middle. The Walker kid kind of gets all the attention. Michael Williams gets a lot of attention. This guy just patrols the middle and makes a lot of tackles, and he can play a little bit in coverage too. He's not going to wow you, right? He's not Fred Warner. He's not going to come out there and take away everything down the middle, but he's a reliable tackler. He can move around, covers about on average about 16 yards of play, which is pretty good. As far as the guys coming out in this draft, it's top 3 or 4 in the group right now. The best guy cleared just over 20, and that's Chris Paul Jr. So that's kind of the gap, right? I really love what he can provide in terms of lateral quickness, top end speed, reliability tackling. I want to see it on display in the in the scrimmage drills. I want to see that in the 11 on 11s. How does he patrol the field in those situations? Like I do last year, we saw a lot of guys like Jamari Thrash last year was hitting those little unders and those drags, same with Vlad McConkey. That's a spot where I think Smile Mondon can step in and get right in the way of those throws and make a few things happen. The Cal linebacker Sermon last year actually had a couple of picks on that, and the guy went undrafted. I think Mondon can come in and make way bigger plays, and it could take him from being maybe a third round guy into being like a second round guy. And somebody could be getting an every down starter right there, say in the 45 to 64 area.
Also, news just dropped. Brian Schottenheimer is the Cowboys head coach.
This is my shocked face. And here's the thing. I like Brian Schottenheimer. And I like him because he was kind enough to answer some DMs for me once upon a time. His dad, Marty, was a phenomenal coach for a long time with the Browns and the Chiefs, and the Chargers stuff was kind of a little overblown. He was really good, bad in the playoffs. Ryan hasn't really shown us quite enough to be the head coach at this point, but you know what? There's continuity at a minimum. He's been in the building. He knows what to expect. I'm hoping that Jerry's not just using him as a one and done kind of a situation. But man, it screams one and done. I'm wishing him the best. I don't particularly like the Cowboys. As a 49ers fan, I have no love lost for them, but it's a situation where I don't want to wish anything negative on the guy, like I said, because he's always been a gracious individual. He's answered my DMs, and if I ever have questions about stuff, he actually is quick to respond.
That's good. Nice guy. I mean, I don't know him. I just think that it's just Cowboys have had such a good roster for the last 12 15 years. I feel like going back to
I'd say last 4. I would say they had a little dip there.
They had a dip.
Some good Romo years, had some good Dak years. There's
Romo years,
some good rosters.
They could have Romo years. They had a chance to win a few of those. The Micah Parsons, obviously, when he came in, then they had really a few chances under that rookie contract. But now that Lamb and Micah are paid, it's definitely tough sledding for the Cowboys. But to keep it back to the Senior Bowl, that's next week. The third wide receiver, not to cut you off on Smell Mondon.
That's all right. I think I was good.
Yeah, it's Jaden Higgins from Iowa State. Bigger bodied receiver, wins vertically extremely well, but also has the ability to flip his hips and come down, come back to the ball. Big frame, long arms. Player I see that the situation I see fitting very well is if they can retain Cliff Kingsbury in Washington, which pretty much looks like that's going to be the case with only the Saints being the job that's open. Get him to Washington to replace Noah Brown. Noah Brown's a free agent, and the way he's playing in the playoffs, I don't expect a big contract, but I expect him to get some sort of contract. And I think Jaden Higgins is a guy that could come in, have a higher upside, and be able to replace a lot of what he was able to do and give them a little bit more. Jaden Higgins for this weekend, show me your long speed. I know, film is film, but getting to see it in practice, show me the way you look running your routes versus Elikeo Manor and some of these other bigger bodied wide receivers, Jack Beck, some of the guys, I forgot which team he's on because it's a little confusing following the rosters, but there's enough big-bodied receivers in this year's Senior Bowl class that I think for Jaden Higgins to improve his draft stock, he has to compete with them athletically and not necessarily with the technical stuff as a receiver. And that may sound strange because it's like, why wouldn't you just want the technicality stuff? But for me, when I'm seeing Jaden Higgins, it reminds me of Xavier Hutchinson when he came down to Mobile. And the biggest disappointment I had with him was he was not good, like, as an athlete. He has the technicality stuff and the way he's supposed to run and do certain things, but there's a step too slow missing with him. That is what is preventing him from being an every down player at the next level. And I want to see with Higgins, can you be that way for this Senior Bowl competition? Because you're no longer in the Big 12. You're no longer playing some of those defenses that we've talked about, Jeff. And you're actually playing, some SEC guys and some Big 10 guys and some of the better competition in sport. Kind of sucks that we're not getting Notre Dame and Ohio State because of how close the Natty is now to the Senior Bowl. But for the most part, there's a lot of good secondary guys here that have the long speed and have the ability to, give you some issues. Show me you're that type of athlete, because I know from catching the football, the radius, like he has a lot to his game that wasn't shown on because Rocco Becht and some of the other quarterbacks that you guys have had. So Higgins is the guy I'm looking forward to, and Washington would be the fit that I have. I know you watch a lot of Iowa State football. You agree that the defenses he goes up against doesn't showcase a lot of athleticism being able to be displayed?
100%. I'm in full agreement with you. Washington's a good spot. I actually think Jacksonville might be a spot too, now that Liam Cohen's there. Put him opposite of Brian Thomas and, push Christian Kirk into the slot. Sorry, Parker Washington, you're going to the bench. But, I think either of those would be a good spot because, Higgins is the kind of guy, you already mentioned, he's kind of a bigger bodied guy. He's got a lot of the technical pieces. Can he be Mike Evans was that big vertical threat for Liam Cohen in Tampa Bay, but could you get half of that route tree out of Higgins and the other half out of Brian Thomas and then force teams to go too high on you?
Yeah, you could play a bit or bully ball. Liam Cohen likes to run the ball. He does not like to just air it out.
You've got ETN and Tank for that, so you've got some dudes there, and then if you can really, because I don't think anybody's afraid of Christian Kirk on the perimeter. Like, he's a badly overpaid receiver. I'm sure he'll be off the roster at Jacksonville's soonest salary cap related convenience. But no, I think Washington's a great fit. I think Jacksonville's a fit. There's probably 2 or 3 other teams too that could use a guy like that, especially at cost. Because where's he really going to go? Do we think he's a second day pick right now?
I think he's a fringe.
Early day 3.
I think that conditional third round is where I'd put him right now in that land of receivers. It's tough. Like, he's on the fringe where, again, this Senior Bowl will be a very intriguing for him. Also, I forgot Gabe Davis is still there.
That's all right. I'm not worried about that guy either. When I think about Higgins, I see a guy between 85 and about a 125. Somewhere in that window is kind of what my thought is. And a lot of that in the draft overall.
Yeah. Gotcha. I
saw the puzzled face there.
the gears were turning. It was just like, wait, what?
Yeah, they were a little jammed up for a second. They're doing a little lubricant to get them going. Yeah, I think he's somewhere in that space in the draft. Yeah, he could certainly move up quite a bit. The only trouble with this class has nothing to do with Higgins. There's so many defensive players, and there's going to be a lot of linemen in that, call it 33 to, 96 area, that it's going to push some really good receivers down the board. It's going to push some really good running backs down the board. And I think we're going to see some skill players coming off the board later than we were used to as fantasy football people. And that's going to be a really interesting thing to see how people, the draft capital nerds, take that stuff in. It's going to get really fun to see how that plays.
Yeah, no, Higgins is, again, this receivers class is not what we had last year. Like, if that's what your expectation is, sorry. It's more to the JSN class. But it has less second-round guys than the JSN class. Like, the JSN class, you had the Tank Dells, you had Marvin Mims for me. Some other guys, obviously not all pan out, but this class is it's a normal receivers class. I think in the upcoming years, though, we're going to have some incredible classes. But as you can see, I picked 3 wide receivers, Jeff picked 3 defensive guys. Next week, when we recap the Senior Bowl, most likely going to be talking about A lot of receivers for me. Jeff will probably talk about the quarterbacks and then give a lot of his defense and analysis for the IDP. But do you have anything else before we move on to the conference championship?
No, man. Just fired up to get to it.
Yeah, no, we're finally here, conference championship. I can say I was very happy with getting the Commanders right this past week. Was able to take down the 2-game slate on the Saturday. Overall, obviously Keon Coleman failed because there was no reason to throw for Buffalo. Now we get this 2-game slate for the conference championship. It's gonna work a little differently here. It's what's the word I want to use here? Anything can happen in terms of putting your lineup together. Construction does not matter. You could play Jalen Hurts, Saquon, AJ Brown, and Devonta Smith on the same lineup. You could play Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, and Devonta Smith with the Commanders' defense. It does not the theoretical aspect of like DFS and the way you play and how you play does not matter on 2-game slates. Simply put, you want to find a way to get unique because if chalk hits, you're just going to split with thousands of people. And the key to the slate in total, Saquon Barkley's projecting to be 85 to 90% owned. And that's just because running backs, it's bad. It's a bad position this week. Like, we have James Cook, and then we have committees. And that does not make for a great spot for DFS slates. And we obviously know Saquon Barkley his floor is probably 15. Without injury, I'd say 80 yards with at least, 4 catches for 30 yards is his floor. So it's hard to beat that type of floor at this point in the season on a 2-game slate. And then on top of it, he's the only player over 8K. That's just, it's easy to afford him. It's one of those slates that when you're building your lineup, you're going to be like, how do you not play Saquon? That's where everything starts for me. I think for me, the biggest leverage on the slate is going Jalen Hurts with AJ and Devonta and not playing Saquon. Because why can't Jalen Hurts get 2 tush pushes, just pushes tush two times for the touchdowns, and then he throws 2 touchdowns. The Philly wins 28-13 in the game, and Jalen Hurts has all 4 touchdowns, 2 of them to AJ Brown, Devonta. Like, he's very capable of it. Do you think that's a very feasible or plausible outcome for this Commanders game?
I mean, I think so.
I'm not advocating to fade Saquon. I think if you play him, you have to find unique ways.
Yeah, it's really hard for me to not be all in on Jaden Daniels at this point. Like, he's just so, like, he manages every part of the game. He runs, he throws, he can get touchdowns on any given play. He keeps the chains moving on critical third downs, so that just creates more opportunity for his offense. Hurts can get 2 tush pushes and get you a couple of touchdowns, but are we really sure that Jaden Daniels can't go and muster up 3, whether it's 2 rushing, 1 passing, or 2 passing, 1 rushing? And I'm not convinced he doesn't go for 3 touchdowns.
Well, so
Washington could still lose the game, but he could still be individually excellent.
So my take on Jaden Daniels, I love Jaden Daniels. Very, very, very good here.
You're about to tell us you don't love him without saying you don't love him. Go ahead. Say it out loud, Jordan.
They played 2 defenses that I'd rank in the bottom 12 of football. I'd argue that the Carolina Panthers had more talent on their defense than the Lions did last week.
Maybe on opening day.
I'm talking about last week. When Brian Branch got hurt, Amik Robinson got hurt, they were playing a safety that had played 2 snaps this season out there. That's horrible.
I get it.
That is horrendous stuff at corner. Then you had Tampa Bay that we put up 30 on them. Like, we had offense success on that side of the ball. Like, I think this is going to be a game where it's not that it catches up, but this is the first team that Washington's playing where they are significantly out-talented. Like, this isn't even close from a paper roster perspective on offense to defense for Jaden Daniels, where Vic Fangio's calling the defense. One of the best defensive coaches ever. Jalen Carter with no Sam Cosmi. Good luck. And if you had any edge rusher that you could have to be the person if Jaden Daniels escapes the pocket, yeah, give me Nolan Carter. That's his name, right? The edge rusher for Georgia?
Yeah.
Yeah, give me
Nolan
him.
Smith.
Nolan Smith, sorry.
Nolan Smith.
Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith,
Jalen
Jordan
Carter.
Davis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just gave
Georgia.
him like a
They got
love
Georgia
child.
up there.
Yeah.
If he escapes the pocket and he's running, to east and west, Nolan Smith can catch him.
So
he's a 4-3 guy.
The last time these two teams played, the Commanders scored 22 points in the fourth quarter. We can say what they want. Maybe they sat some players. They had some other things going on. Jaden Daniels had 5 touchdowns in that game. I'm not expecting 5. But if he can get you to 3, do we think 70 rushing, 50 rush? Because he's going to get something rushing in the fourth quarter. Because it's going to be the Eagles winning this game by 2 scores at least.
These two quarterbacks are not going to get played
in hero mode.
Just
these two quarterbacks are lower. I'm going to take him.
Yeah.
I think people are going to be in on Josh Allen.
So the other counterpoint I have with the Jaden Daniels thing, and they played in Week 11 and Week 16. So in Week 11, they played on a Thursday night. Thursday night games are always stupid. However, Thursday night, short week, they didn't blitz him. They did not come after him, and they shut him down. Come to Week 16, he had been struggling a bit against some blitzes. Some teams had gotten after him. I think the Cowboys in particular got him with some A-gap blitzes with Eric Kendricks and Overshone. And they razzled him, I think, a little bit at that point in the season. When they played Philly, they tried to come after him. He threw 3 of his passing touchdowns when they blitzed. He killed their blitz packaging. And through the playoffs, he is destroying teams when they decide to blitz. Because even when you get home, he has such a quick release. It's like he just can get it out there. And his players are making plays. I don't think Philly comes after him. I think they stick to quarters. I think they keep everything in front. And we could play the game of, move the chains and all the fourth down stuff and everything he's done. Let's not forget Tyrion Arnold made one of the just bonehead plays that I've seen on that fourth down play. Like, they have failed a lot on those fourth downs, and Philly is head and shoulders better than any defense they've even come across in the last month. I know they played Philly in Week 16 or whatever. Again, blitzing, not blitzing. If Fangio comes after him again, I think it's definitely the boom game for Jane Daniels. But I think both of them are going to come in probably 18 and 20, if I had to say. Jaden Daniels probably gets 20%. But I do have a receiver that I like for Jaden Daniels, and it helps you get unique, and it's Jamison Crowder. Him or Olamide Zaccheaus.
He's had a really good playoffs.
He's had some
really
big
good
plays.
Playoffs.
Yeah. He's had some big plays
for a
here
guy
and
that
there.
I thought he was out of the league. I didn't know he was in the league.
He actually caught a touchdown against Philly when one of those 5. So Jamison Crowder and Olamide Zaccheaus, if you're going to play quarters and keep everything in front of you, you need that slot that understands how to win inside. And I think Crowder and Zaccheaus are the 2 that could do it well, that won't draw the attention of like a Terry McLaurin. So if you're going to play Jaden Daniels, I recommend getting one of them. Or even Eckler. Eckler could do it too. Like he's had some big receptions in this playoffs as well. If you're going to play Jaden Daniels, I recommend one of those 3. And then obviously you play Terry McLaurin. For Jaden Daniels to be special in this game, Terry McLaurin has to be the guy.
I actually think he's going to be special because of running. I don't know how much passing he's going to do. I think it might be one of those crazy weeks where he just runs for a bunch of freaking yards.
But the only problem with him running is he doesn't get the goal line work. B-Rob does.
Oh, I'm not expecting him to. I'm not looking for designed runs here, Jordan. I'm thinking this is going to be a situation where, to your point, they're not going to blitz him. And so if they sit back in coverage, he's good enough where if they get pressure on with Nolan Smith, he can run away and get 8 yards, 10 yards, 11 yards, 4 yards, and turn a lot of those sacks into a positive play. And next thing you know, he's run the ball 18 times in the game unintentionally through scrambling, and he's got 80-something yards. That's going to be the thing I think that sets him up.
No, yeah.
But again,
if you play Jaden Daniels naked, like with nobody, then that is obviously a very unique strategy. That is also very, very
my
valuable.
DFS is.
Yeah.
was going to say how I play my DFS is none of anybody's concern. I'll play it naked if I want to.
Yeah, exactly. I know. So Jaden, obviously, if that's the way you go, I think you could get very unique. I'm surprised that both of these quarterbacks aren't more popular, but it seems like everybody wants to go to that Chiefs-Bills game. It's also the later game. Gives you more hope type of thing. But again, going back to just recapping Philly's offense, Commanders play cover 1 against Philly. They've done it on 15 and 20 attempts in the 2 games that they played this year. One was Kenny Pickett, one was Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts against cover 1 in his career that's the best coverage that he loves throwing against cover 1 because he has AJ Brown and he just wins against cover 1. And Jalen Hurts doesn't have to think; he could just react and let the ball go. And the Commanders, I think they're okay with it because I think they believe in their corners and they also believe they can get him to make a mistake. And with him being a little banged up, getting that extra rusher with Luvu or, Jeremy Chin even blitzing and some of the guys that they have on that back end, miss you guys, Carolina Panthers, it wouldn't surprise me to see him blitz a lot and play cover 1 behind it and press. Because also, the passing offense is disconnected, and with it being disconnected, the one thing I will say, if AJ Brown catches the touchdown, that was like a 40-yarder, and if the illegal man downfield play doesn't happen, I mean, Jalen Hurts has an okay day passing, but since those 2 plays got taken, that's like 65 yards passing and a touchdown. So his day looks awful. But I don't have any interest in Dallas Goedert. I don't think this is the game for him. I think Bobby Wagner's played out of his mind this postseason, and he's not going to let that be the case. And then you have Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz, I'm here for it. Like, he could be played with Jaden Daniels. No problems with him against Anthony Morrow or Zach Bond. Don't think it's the preferred matchup, but Dan Quinn, when he signed Zach Ertz, they asked him why. And he said his red zone ability at this age and the way he's able to win is why I want him here. And yeah, no, he wins every time in the red zone. Yeah, Zach Ertz has been incredible down there and being able to give Jaden Daniels a guy to go to, and they free him up extremely well. And whether it's rub routes or, different read option plays at RPOs, that gives him a lot of freedom and wouldn't be surprised if he scores. And then, not a fan of Dotson. I think I'm just sticking with Smith and Brown here. I think they are going to command like 70% of the targets. Like, I don't think it's really anything crazy. And yeah, that's about it for this Philly-Washington game.
Yeah, it feels like I don't get too cute on the receivers thing.
Yeah, not with Philly. I think you could do it with Washington now. They rotate enough that you could get cute with it. Also, what do you think the scores of this game ends up being? This is a fun one.
I don't think it's going to be that dissimilar. Well, I don't think it's going to be that dissimilar to what we saw back in December. I think it's going to be maybe something like 35-31 or maybe like 38-35 or something along those lines. I'm expecting a lot of points. These are 2 teams that know each other really well. The trouble with this game for me is that divisional games, you almost have to throw everything you think you know completely out the window.
That's fair.
And so, because they know each other so well inside and out, they see each other twice a year, and they just saw each other a few weeks ago. It's not like they haven't seen each other in 12 weeks. It's like this was 4 weeks ago, not, I think right on 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at this and saying, give me the most talented guys. I expect a ton of points. Cliff Kingsbury isn't going to be holding anything back. And I don't think the guys in Philadelphia are either. And so these offenses, I think, are going to get really wild. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a couple of fake punts or something along those lines. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch. To me, it might be more fun than the Buffalo-Kansas City game. Because I know Kansas City, they're looking for some revenge, right? Buffalo, they're fighting for a city here that hasn't seen the big one in, at least your adult life. You weren't even a twinkle in your dad's eye yet when Buffalo was last there. So, I mean, it's been a minute.
No, I wasn't alive. I wasn't even. My dad was probably just 20, entering his 20s at that point. And I mean, Commanders have literally never been here in my life. Like, never. Has never happened. Like, I've been alive, no chance.
I was 8.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's actually funny. Fun one. We could definitely have some fun with this. I completely disagree on the shootout. I think this is a game where Philly just rolls them. I think this is a 20. I'd say 27-13 Philly. Like, I think Philly wins by 2 scores here. I don't see it with Washington. I love Jay Daniels. He's special. This is just the talent discrepancy for me, where I think Philly's front and Jalen Carter is going to showcase why he's. I mean, Aaron Donald actually posted, like, that guy is the one, basically. Like, that is who. Like, he didn't really watch, and then he watched the Rams-Eagles game. And he saw Jalen Carter and what he was doing, and he's like, "Oh, that guy, yeah, he's the next." Like, for me, and that kind of praise, that kind of situation, and doing it in this game against Jaden Daniels, that's what puts you to that. Oh wow, okay, Jalen. Like, I think Jalen Carter is already a top 5 defensive tackle in football, interior guy, absolute game wrecker, and if he goes and dominates like this against Jaden Daniels, then he enters that Chris Jones type of tier where it's like, you are an interior D lineman, you get 2 to 3 sacks on a guy like Jaden Daniels. Okay, yeah, you're for real here. So that's a fun one. You got the shootout, I've got the blowout. Now let's get into the ref out with Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. Or sorry, the Buffalo Bills versus the National Football League Refs Association. Yeah, making sure that we just try to give them every single call. Flopping, I know Josh Allen does it too. Both of them do it. They should be flagged for flopping. Like, if a replay official sees it's clear that you flopped, it should be like a 25-yard penalty. I'm not talking 15. I think 25 yards and getting fined should be the penalty there. That's not acceptable.
And a fine. All right.
That's just not acceptable football. Like, it's because, I mean, if you're going to do it, and we should bring back Bountygate for this, just hit him. Like, just absolutely clean him. If he's going to go and flop, like, hit him. Like, if he's going to try to draw the flag there, then you just got to draw. Like, Josh Allen takes hits. He delivers them just as well. Mahomes, like, guys are afraid to hit him running up the sidelines now. This is just taking away football. Also, realistically, besides getting angry and ranting, I think once you escape the tackle, once you escape the pocket, you should no longer be a quarterback. You should be a runner. That's it. If you're in the pocket, cool. Pocket rules, whatever. But if you're outside the pocket and you try to hold on to the ball too late and a defender hits you and lands on you, that's nothing. Get up. Go for it. If you throw it, you stop, you stand, and then they hit you, got it. That's different. But you should not be able to just, like, give yourself up and, like, while someone's trying to hit you. Like, throw the ball away. Don't try to make the extra play. Like, it's just taking away from football. But let's get into actual analysis before I lose it with Patrick Mahomes talk. Let's start with the Bills side of things. What are your thoughts on this Bills offense here?
Look, I think they're pretty freaking great, right? Like, this is a really good offense. Josh Allen was not a guy that I'm well documented not really loving him when he came out. Thought he had a lot of accuracy problems and things of the sort. And I'll tell you, he's made a believer out of me. He's just fun to watch. He's an excellent player. He's so much fun. He seems like a really good dude too. The only thing I wonder about here is that Kansas City is actually fundamentally good on defense. Like, they're not going to give you a lot of plays, right? And we've already talked, I'm not going to get into the ref thing, but they do a good enough job of covering you down the field and applying some pressure where they can make it tough. Here's where I think Buffalo needs to win. They've got to find a way to get Dalton Kincaid involved, and they've got to figure out how to keep James Cook moving the chains. Now, when I say James Cook, I'm using his name simply as running back. It could be Ray Davis. It could be Ty Johnson. I don't care. Those guys could all get a taste of it, right? If they can win on the ground and keep Mahomes on the sideline and use Kincaid over the middle and force those safeties to be able to play more between the numbers and not let them get wide and take away anything out on the boundaries and things like that, it's going to be a really good day for Buffalo. This is another one of those games where it's probably high 20s on each side. These teams play each other close every single time. The Chiefs have been here a bunch of times. They know how to win. But I'm pumped about what Buffalo's bringing to the table. I'm cheering for them. I really hope they knock off the Chiefs. I think we're all kind of tired of the evil empire at this point. And, let's see somebody fresh in there. I think it would be a lot of fun to get Buffalo and Washington in the Super Bowl simply because it would be a fun story.
No, definitely a fun story. I don't hate Washington. I just think they're just not there yet.
You just told everybody you hated them, though, and that they're not very
talented.
True.
I do hate them so much. They're the worst. They're just, Jay Daniels is going to go through CJ Stroud regression next year. Don't just wait. It's a number 2 overall pick thing. That's what happens. It's just, we're going to be saying Caleb's better than Jay Daniels by the end of next season. Just like we're saying now, everybody's saying it. Bryce Young over CJ Stroud. Now, with Buffalo, there's a few things that I'll bring up with that I think are very intriguing. I do think it has to be James Cook. And the reason I think it is because he's the most skilled pass catcher. I know Ty Johnson has had big pass catching plays, and Ray Davis has weirdly had some big, receptions. When Joe Brady took over as play caller, and they played the Chiefs in Kansas City, James Cook had 115 yards receiving in the first half. He was destroying those linebackers. And then, in the second matchup, they put was it Justin Reed? Yeah, I think they put Justin Reed on James Cook anytime he split out. They put a safety on him. They didn't put the running back or linebacker. They didn't put a corner. So Buffalo had difficulty getting him the ball that second matchup. And then they fast forward to this year, and the Bills' run game all season long has used 6 offensive line. When they played the Chiefs, they did that twice. Not sure why. Whatever the reason is, they didn't do it. So far this playoffs, I think 39% of their rushing attempts have had 6 offensive linemen on the field. And that's not counting goal line. That's in between the 20s, getting into the red zone area, because I know when the red zone's there, Josh Allen, tush push, whatever. That's an intriguing part of the game that I think is a new look they haven't given to them. And off that look, I think wheel routes, downfield stuff with James Cook, off play action, stuff like that I think is coming their way. And then Dalton Kincaid is a player that could win in those types of looks, but he doesn't really play in those looks. It's been more Dawson Knox because of his physicality as a blocker. But I could see Kincaid getting more love there. Keon Coleman's an intriguing player here because in these looks they go him and Mac Hollins, and when Josh Allen sees a look he likes, he's not afraid to do the Brett Favre and screw the running play. Let me just throw the quick slant to my receiver. That's been Keon Coleman this year. He's been able to win on those types of plays. So I like them. Amari Cooper, for some reason, is not getting a lot of love. I think that's kind of ridiculous. Curtis Samuel's a player too, like a scatty type of look that gives you that extra dimension. I wouldn't be surprised with him on some jet sweeps and different things. I know Buffalo, you don't have to get too cute here, but you have to create a few big plays off stuff that are just different. Different looks that you haven't pulled out yet. And then you control the game and you play keep away. And what they did to Baltimore, I don't think they could do to Kansas City. I don't think Kansas City is going to let you punch them in the mouth like that. So, Josh Allen, I don't think he's going to have a big passing day, but I think he'll have a big touchdown day. Like, it's one of those situations where he's just going to control the ball in the red zone. Like, he's just going to go full Kobe, MJ. Like, it's my ball. Like, I'm going to score here. I don't care what happens. He's also been ridiculous in the red zone, especially the rushing touchdowns. So, Josh Allen, Keon Coleman, like Cooper, James Cook. Khalil Shakir is the player that I don't know if I can get behind. He's fine. He's a very, very good player. He's been great all season long. I do expect him to get a lot of looks. But I also expect the Chiefs to double. The Chiefs have just been very good at taking away your best option, and I think they'll double him with Trent McDuffie. I think they're not afraid to press him and make sure the linebackers and safeties know we're not letting him get over the middle of the field. We're not letting him, if we play cover 2, we're not letting him just run up the seam like Baltimore did. Like, we are keying in on this guy. This is something that helps Josh Allen get into rhythm. We don't want rhythm. We want him to throw to the other receivers that don't create enough separation. So, it's kind of how I'm approaching the Bill side of things. And for them to win, I think James Cook needs to have at least 100 total yards. whether it's receiving, rushing, whatever, he needs to get at least 100 yards of total offense for them to win this game. If Chiefs shut down James Cook, I don't think the Bills have a chance. It's not that James Cook is like the heart and soul of the offense. However, I think James Cook is someone that creates the mismatches needed to come away with 7 instead of settling for 3. That's going to be the big difference between James Cook. Yeah, he gets you in 3rd and short, especially on those stretch plays. When they go 6-0 linemen, they're just bullying teams. It's Joe Brady getting a good run game is something I did not expect. But the fact that he has a good run game, and now that he's going to be probably back with Buffalo next year, sign me up for this offense, because obviously it's been one of the best in football. They're going to take that next step, because this O-line, the run game, and then obviously just Josh Allen getting better weapons will be absolutely tremendous. But going to the Kansas City side, how does Travis Kelsey just keep getting open? Why don't we just forget about him? Why does everybody do it?
It's because he doesn't run routes. He's just out there running around. He's like, oh, there's no one near me now. I'm going to just look at Pat and wave at him, and he's going to throw me the football.
It's just crazy that like they could do that and nobody else can. Like nobody else has the audacity to just let their tight end do what Kelsey does, because obviously the mind and the knowledge of football is obviously there for him. But it feels like every
and he and Patrick Mahomes are, I mean,
yeah,
you don't always get that mind meld with your quarterback. Like, not everybody can do that.
Seems like something teams should try to acquire, because I remember when Brady and Gronk was not, the mind, but he was just like, Gronk go here, Gronk catch ball. And Brady just like, yeah, this is what we're going to do. And they were always insane. Like, Gronk wasn't always open, but he always gave him a window. And it feels like Kelsey's just always open, and then obviously gives him the window when it's needed. It's just, he's obviously lost that step. How many more years do you think Kelsey has?
I mean, I think we're already there. I mean, we're seeing it with his load management already through the regular season. We saw, like, last week when he caught those passes and was running, he looked slow by his own standard. Like, he was never a burner, and he looks slow. I think we're at the end for him. Maybe we're looking at a year or 2. I bet he plays beyond his cliff.
Yeah. But, I don't know. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think he can retire at any moment. Gold jacket, best tight end ever, in my opinion. Not most talented tight end, but just
why not go retire and marry Taylor Swift and live happily ever after? That seems like a winning solution for this guy. I mean, he's living the Tom Brady fairy tale without being a quarterback. It's pretty amazing. Yeah,
the only problem is I don't know if he could retire if he loses this game. Like, I don't know if he will be able to accept it quite like Jason
He's
did.
Made a ton of money. He's made a boatload of money.
The money. I'm saying the athlete in him. Like, just the competitive nature in Kelsey. Like, he'll go load management for a year and go to the playoffs and won for his last ride. And, if he loses again, he loses again. But losing to Buffalo and then retiring just doesn't feel like Kelsey's ending. But getting into the DFS side of things, Kelsey's the chalk tight end. Rightfully so. He should be 45% at 6K. Mahomes is the most popular quarterback. I do not expect that to be the case, but when he's 6K, he's playing Buffalo, and we all know they're going to have to move the ball. It's not surprising. Buffalo plays a lot of cover 2 against them. That's Kelsey. Kelsey's always killed cover 2. One thing that I think it's really intriguing is Worthy and Hollywood Brown. Both of them played majority of the snaps for the Chiefs this past weekend at the same time. They ran a jet sweep with the shovel option to Worthy underneath. Like, they had a jet sweep to Hollywood. It was just blew my mind. Didn't know you could do that with speed. I think if you play Mahomes, you go Mahomes, Kelsey, Worthy, and Hollywood, and expect them to methodically kill this cover 2 coverage that I think Buffalo is going to be coming out in, and beat them over the top. Where they have 2 guys with so much speed that they're able to just get past and go over that cover 2. And Worthy already did it. He had a huge game against Buffalo. And that was with having a dumb play where Mahomes put the ball on the rope on the sideline and he didn't get his second foot down because he just thought he was inbounds. Like, he was wide open. Would have been like another 45 yards to his game. Both of them are very intriguing. I don't have any interest in D-Hop. It's just tough to buy in at 4,700. The only way you're buying in is if he's coming in 6% owned, but he played same snaps as Juju. It's like it's just not acceptable for me. I do like him as a red zone guy. Like I just don't know if they're throwing in the red zone as much.
Yeah, look, man, he's the guy in the group project who's standing there. He's holding up the poster, but he didn't do any of the work.
Yeah.
He'll silver ring when it's over if Kansas City gets it done, but he doesn't need to catch anything. I'm out on D-Hop, too.
Yeah, Justin Watson and Juju are not playing. Justin Watson can always be played because he's always a thing, but I just won't do it. Noah Gray's a guy I actually like with Kelsey. Like, you can play Noah Gray in this spot. He's been good all year for them. And, cover 2, like, Kelsey's not going to play every snap. He can't. Like, he doesn't do it now in the playoffs against Houston. I don't think he's going to do it here. The running backs, give me Kareem Hunt over Pacheco. Kareem's just been better overall. And Pacheco, it's just the injuries. Like, he doesn't look like the same player. Obviously, he's not getting a ton of work for, reason. And Kareem Hunt, he's been better overall in the season when they run more of their man blocking scheme. And that is what kills Buffalo. You got to be able to, block it correctly, but that is what they do best. Joe Thuney at your left tackle doesn't exactly encourage me on that type of scheme, even though he's a mauler. I don't know, those edges can beat you quick. And Thuney doesn't have, he's playing left tackle and he's doing it, but it's a tough spot for this on the O-line. What defense do you like out of the 4? Because that's been the hardest thing, I think, to pick. Because, if you think the Philly-Washington game's a 34-30, you got to be leaning Buffalo or Kansas City.
I feel like all 4 defenses are going to allow a lot of points. So I think the question here comes down to which team is going to turn it over more.
Yeah.
That's
which team has
really
the best chance to score a defense
here.
touchdown?
Honestly, I think it's Washington. I think Jalen Hurts could throw a pick to one of those DBs just as easily as anybody else. And honestly, out of the 4 quarterbacks, he's had the poorest season. He's been the individually worst quarterback out of the 4.
If you're going the Washington route with Jaden Daniels, then you should be playing Washington's defense, because that most likely means Washington's staying on the field for a lot more and getting more opportunity and keeping, I think it's keeping Saquon in check. Because if Saquon gets going and runs for $190, do you think Jaden Daniels has that great of a game? Because I think the clock just gets strained before he could get 18 carries. That's where I think it gets
100%. Yeah, and that's the thing, is I almost wonder if we're going to see the Saquon spy on from Bobby Wagner and just try to keep him, filling whatever gap Saquon's trying to go into and make Saquon reverse hurdle over him and do some other crazy stuff. But I think Washington's got a shot. No, what'd he say?
Luke Kuechly Kay Adams asked Luke Kuechly about, middle linebacker, how would you approach Saquon? And he said, you cannot hesitate your feet. If you pick that gap, you go through that gap. The moment you hesitate your feet, he is quicker than you. He can stop and go faster than you. You have to guess right, get the right gap, and you have to put your helmet into his hip. You cannot afford to hit him anywhere else, because he might break it. He might break the tackle if you go anywhere else on him, because he's so strong. And if you can get his hips, you can get him down to the ground, and you have to just keep hitting him in the hips without hesitation. And just that's it. That's the way. It's the hardest thing you're going to have to do all year long, because he is so good. However, that's how you slow him down. That's how you slow the great running backs down. And for me, I remember when Luke Kuechly was trying to guess where Le'Veon Bell was running, and he guessed wrong quite a bit. It was not a fun time for me. Steelers Panthers. My buddy's a Steelers fan. It's bad. Every time we play them, it's just not fun. You thought it was going to be something nice about Luke Kuechly?
That's not what I was expecting. You got
yeah.
Tears.
Dude, I'm going to tell you right now. I'm pulling it up.
He was wrong.
No, he was wrong all the time. Well, to be fair, not only was he wrong, but the running scheme that the Steelers were running, they still had their maulers up front. It was like every play, he was getting double teamed, and our D tackles just weren't there. Our D tackles just weren't a part of the play. I didn't know where they were, but they weren't in the play. Yeah, this was it. We played them in 2018. Final score 52-21. They scored 50 on us. There's not many games I see where a guy gets 50. No, it was actually James Conner. That was that game. He ran for 65. That was the AB show, actually. The other one he played him twice. It's pretty bad. It was not a fun time. As a Panthers fan, I do not look forward to playing the Steelers. When we play the Steelers, just bad things happen. Like they don't just beat us, they just absolutely dominate us. Yeah, Le'Veon Bell, this is it. Against the Steelers, Le'Veon had 20 carries for 147 yards. LeGarrette Blount had, as a backup, 10 carries for 118 on a Luke Kuechly defense. He played 97% of the snaps.
How old was this Luke's rookie year? What happened here? When was that?
No, this is just every time we played the Steelers beat this. If the Steelers are playing the Panthers, they're beating us by at least 2 scores. This is his 3rd year in the league. I think he might have won Defense Player of the Year this year. I mean, no, this is our bad year. This is the year after we lost to you guys in the 2nd round. That was a bad year. I think this is the year we had Steve Smith go blood and guts everywhere on us. It was not fun. But yeah, no, I miss Luke Kuechly. He's going to the Hall of Fame, I believe, right? Yeah. I think he's
should be.
Did he get announced this year?
Did he make the finalist? Don't they do the final announcements at the Super Bowl?
Yeah, maybe.
I think NFL Honors is where they do the official announcements. I could be mistaken on that.
Yeah, he's a finalist. He's one of the 15 finalists. It's Eli Manning, Kuechly, Jared Allen, Antonio Gates, Torrey Holt, Steve Smith, Terrell Suggs, Fred Taylor, Reggie Wayne, Darren Woodson. Marshall Yonda was a freaking monster. But anywho, that is the last bit of this episode for Gridiron Minds. I'm your host, Jordan Vanek. As always, joined by Jeff DiMatteo. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. We will have a Senior Bowl recap video going up next Friday after we get home and handle some things. It's a exciting week, Jeff. We actually get to hang out for a few days and pretend not talk on the phone and yap while your wife is trying to do other things around the house.
I mean, she just likes to harass you while we're on the phone. She doesn't do that to really anybody else. I want you to know, she'll occasionally harass Ronnie. Nice. Ronnie Evans, for those of you that are friends of the show here. But she's gotten to the point where she sees us and hears us talking so frequently, she treats you like somebody who's always in the house. So you catch harassment now like I would, so congratulations. It's like being part of the family.
That's very important to get harassed by your wife. That seems like something that should be happening to you, but so appreciate you guys tuning in. I get
the physical harassment.
Feel free to like and subscribe. Good luck this weekend. I will be mainly playing the Millie Maker. I don't know where you're going to be playing, Jeff, but good luck, and I hope you make some money. And hey, it's all stakes at the end of the day. And you can make some money doing some DFS and look forward to the Senior Bowl, seeing some guys perform. And that's all we got for you guys this week.